Portugal. There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, Alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and the podcast. How are you doing this morning? Podcast is available. If you look at our website, goodmorningportugal.com. How are you doing today? Let us know in the chat. If you look at our homepage, actually, I think I will take you for a little tour of some of the work I've been doing over on the homepage. Been fiddling with it again, yeah. What are you doing in there? Just fiddling with my website, won't be long. You'll see, where was I going with this? Yes, the podcast. We have two podcasts now. We do the Portugal quiz, the daily quiz, as a podcast, which you can receive via Spotify and all other major podcasting platforms. And the good old original. We've had so many downloads of our podcast now, and so many episodes up there of the Good Morning Portugal podcast itself. Sadly, not available on Spotify after I struck from there for playing commercial music, sadly. I don't know how to get back on. It'd be great. It's lovely to see your own podcast on Spotify, but I'm not able to do that at the moment. I'll just tell you how many downloads we've had of the podcast. And if you are listening in on the podcast, I'm so grateful to you. As I've said before, the Cinderellas of the Gumper community, just quietly listening. Well, I don't know if you're quietly listening, but certainly we don't hear much of a peep from you. There you are, listening all around the world. And as I said on Monday, in the United Arab Emirates, we're hearing a little bit more of an audience growing over there as well. So if that's where you're listening, especially in that part of the world, good morning to you, or whenever you're listening, because that's the beauty of a podcast, of course. Listen when you like. We have nearly 1,300 episodes of the Good Morning Portugal show, would you believe, as a podcast. And we've enjoyed 373,000 downloads. Amazing. And adding to that now, if you go to our homepage, actually, let me do a tour of that in just a moment. If you go to the homepage, the drop-down menu of the podcast, you'll find both the Good Morning Portugal podcast, which you can play from the website as well, actually, as well as the new daily quiz podcast, which you can subscribe to and have delivered fresh, hot off the press into your, well, because I post-produce it after the show each morning. And as soon as it goes up there, it will basically be downloaded to your subscription service. So thank you, everybody who listens via podcast. And thank you so much to everybody who watches the live stream as well. This carefully selected audience in the morning, which then goes out to many more people subsequently later on in the day and the evening. It's like a TV show that gets recorded in front of a live audience. Yeah, that's what happens, isn't it? That's how the Good Morning Portugal show works. And then many other people catch up on the podcast or watch it later as a recording on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, of course, as well. I'm hoping Twitter improve their live streaming facilities, or X as it should be called now, and LinkedIn as well. If you prefer to watch on LinkedIn whilst networking, you can do that too as well, because I know some people do that. Coach Turner's in. And Banana Slug's in as well. We're saying hello to Wayne as well this morning. Carpe Diem, retiring to Portugal. How's that project going, Wayne? Hola, bon dia todos. You say, Leela, how's your job search going? Good morning to you. Good morning, Portugal, says Leela. And Dougie, imagine getting just €1 per podcast download. Yeah, I'd be pretty well off. I mean, I'm not complaining. We have adverts on our podcast. Because many a mickle makes a muckle indeed, Douglas. We do get some income from our podcast, which I'm very chuffed to receive. And I think there are ways of hearing it without the ads. People, every time these sorts of things are commercialized, websites, podcasts, whatever, there are new technologies available to block the ads and so on. But it's a fine balance, and I don't blame you. I really like YouTube Premium, if that is indeed what it's called, where there aren't any ads. And there I am making a I'll tell you, I'll let you into a secret. We're monetized as a YouTube podcast. Sorry, as a YouTube program live stream. And guess, actually, I'll make it a little bit of a quiz. How much do you think we make per month, approximately, from our YouTube efforts? Now, I'm very grateful to YouTube. Let me say that from the get-go. I'm extremely grateful to YouTube for creating this incredible technology through which many of you are watching this morning. However, is there any chance of a little bit of water, Mrs. M? My voice is going a bit croaky this morning. It's the time of year, isn't it? I think a few people have got funny little things happening with their bodies. Or is that all year? But yeah, if you'd like to hazard a guess about how much we make per month from YouTube, we can have a little bit of a giggle about that. I'll just keep that one if I may, because I might need that any minute. Okay, take it away. It's fine. Oh no, yep, no, yes, no. Okay. Hopefully water is on its way. Water. Not being dramatic at all this morning. Brian, good to see you over there on GMP VIP. Thank you very much, Mrs. M. I'll take more if I may as well, because I'm trying to drink 2 liters a day. She's huffing and sighing like a really angry server in a terrible American restaurant. They gladly bring you water, firstly. And did you see in the Portuguese news, I think restaurants can now charge you for corkage, for giving you water and those sorts of things. I don't think many will, but they do now have the crikey, what? Oh, hairspray as well. That's a mixed blessing. The aroma of hairspray coming to the studio as Mrs. M gets ready for the Barefoot broadcast. For me, the smell of hairspray in the air is like all the promise of a Saturday night, isn't it? I just need the whiff, a little bit of perfume, a little bit of alcohol, maybe some cigarette smoke, hairspray, and I'm thinking, yes, you're a lucky fella tonight. Come on, Lady Luck, bless me. The signs are there. And some of the CFCs. Oh, my goodness. Morning to you, Emma, as well. I literally have no idea what YouTube pays, says Douglas, as we let you into our trade secrets here. Brian, that's more like it. 30 cents, centimos. And Eagle's guessing 45 a month. You would then get more ads streamed. You get more by ads streamed on your show. Well, we are monetized them, and if you don't watch on YouTube Premium, which I thoroughly recommend, which actually cuts off. Oh no, YouTube give you some of the. They split the revenue from the premium non-ad streaming service as well, which is pretty good. But that's okay. 45, 30 cents. Pam's here with a bon dia as well, as is Pete. Morning, Pete. Dougie, YouTube probably a tiny offering. I will go with 100 euros. Well, I wouldn't. Anna Jostic as well. Are you summoning in the spirits, Mrs. M, for the Barefoot broadcaster? There she is in her dressing gown. She's classy. What?
We haven't got any fags.
We ain't got any fags. So is that why I get instead of fag smoke down a pub? I hope it's Nag Champa, the equivalent of Rothmans of the incense world. YouTube, probably a tiny offering. 100 euros, that's not tiny. It's a lot more than we actually get, though. Refunded due to Carl swearing. Yes, I don't swear. It's the guests. Talking of which, we have Fabrizio and Ian, the Lisbon lads. The lads in Lisbon are joining us at 9, and Alyson Sheldrake at 9:30 with a wonderful preview of Snapshot magazine. And of course, as I say that, I realise that I haven't done the banner. Hopefully, last month's banner will still be available for me. I think it is. Oh, yeah, I'm just going to have to change July to September. Bear with a minute, because we are previewing the September edition. And I've got my special copy. She sends me a special copy, which is fantastic, of Snapshot magazine. So we'll be having a look at that. Yes, very good, Carl. Nice little hack there on the banners. There we go. For Indie Portugal Thursday, Fabrizio and Ian are back at 9, live from the capital. Yeah, I think they're coming from the capital. They're back from the Alentejo now. And at 9:30 in her monthly slot, it's our good mate Ali in the Algarve. Alyson Sheldrake, of course, with our September preview, our very own September preview of Snapshot magazine. Dave's got some cracking photos in there. And I think they've opened a museum of British dentistry up in the Algarve. Judging by the pictures. Would you like to see these? I said I'd give you a YouTube. Sorry, not YouTube. You know how to use YouTube. I said I'd give you a website tour. I'll give you that because there are some new things on there. If I just give you a preview of the new Museum of British Dentistry in the Algarve. Look at this. A great job, I think, there. There he is. I don't know which part of the Algarve it's in, but we'll talk to Ali about that a little bit later on today. And we're going to go on a website tour in just a minute. Does it get any more exciting than this? The website tour is actually a prelude, a bit of a fluffing for the... Oh, Mrs. M, you are spoiling me now. Any chance of a Ferrero Rocher? Absolutely not. The prelude to other things, other feature attractions. Who doesn't like to have a woman walking about in a negligee? In my mind, it's a negligee, not a big old furry flipping dressing gown behind me. Okay, Pete's had a guess as well. It all depends. We know people who make 5,000 euros a month, 2,020 euros. Can you put me in touch with the people who make 5,000 euros a month, Pete, please? And considering how much content you produce. See, that's the thing. I was told a long time ago by Josh at Expats Everywhere. And on his channel, one of my videos, my interview with him, where that phrase, be Portuguese about it, that's had 207,000 views. I think my highest scoring viewed video is 13,000. It's not even about Portugal on my channel. Okay, Febra. What does that mean, Dougie? Is that a type of... That sounds like an app. Fiba. I wonder what that's an app for. Feels like autumn, says Pam to me. Back to being busy after a late summer burst of activity with a trip to Spain for my niece's wedding and a music festival in Lisbon. That's where you saw Prodigy, wasn't it? It's not over. It is not over. What time does the Museum of Dentistry close? I know the answer to this. Or in Portugal, it's what time does it open, I suspect. Would that be 2:30? Yes, I'm ahead of you there. I know you were keeping that back, letting it hang there like the dad joke sword of Damocles. Okay, look at this. What's that? Podcast listeners are like, what? I don't understand that. Wayne, explain yourself. And bon dia todos from Antonia, who's here now. The dental museum is in Cavatiero. Now that's good. Cavatiero. Very good. Cavatiero, see? Very good. A number of conversational threads going here. 45 euros, I'm told, 30 cents. Some people earning 5,000 euros, 2,000 euros, and 20 euros. About 100, says Doug. He thinks I'm making from the YouTube channel. And what's this? We really hate the people that make 5,000 euros a month, and we wouldn't want our friends to be introduced to them. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. So I'm afraid, no, we won't introduce you. Okay, Pete. That sounds a bit awkward. And look, it's all very well serving up a bad dad joke. And this was a proper groaner. But not only that, you're doing it again, like for a second time in 3 days. And I'm not going to, even I have my limits there. You can enjoy it on the screen. I'm not reading that out again. And we did that. Maybe you were traveling back from Ireland and didn't realize that. But on your slug. I hope you had a great trip. Any highlights that you can share with us in the chat this morning? Where was I going? I was showing you pictures of the... have you seen this, Mrs. M? They opened up a new Museum of British Dentistry in the Algarve at Cavatiero. See? Oh, yeah. There it is. We'll talk to Ali about that later on. And yes, of course, it opens at 2:30. Yeah, and the let me just do a few more comments before we forget to look at the website, maybe. Bon dia. Oh, you lovely gumpers. Back to Blighty and some sort of normality today. Yeah, I'm not expecting to hear that in Blighty. What with Birmingham City Council declaring itself bankrupt. Should I be worried about that? About with all my buddies back in Blighty and the second biggest city, its council going bankrupt? Maybe we can ask Ian about that because he's a Brummie. I wonder what he thinks about that. He's up at 9 with Fabrizio. Trouble-free trip yesterday, though very busy. Yep, it reminded me I don't like crowds. An airport, not a brilliant place to be, unless of course it's Exeter Airport. Coffee beckons, and yeah, and some of those little airports. Isn't it great when you go to a tiny airport and there's barely anybody there? And you walk out to the tarmac through just a piece of rope, basically, that a security official just unclips for a moment so you can get on your plane. God Squad tip of the day, then. I somehow managed to restrict my weight gain to 1 kilo. That's good, in spite of my best efforts. Even so, a detox week ahead. No booze or sweet stuff, just a mixture of protein and veggies. Yeah, sounds a little bit like my approach, but one hack, if I can share with you, Coach Turner. With those things that we eat for flavor, like sweets, you don't have to eat the whole thing, do you? Because I find it's like with a pastel de nata. It's the first bite and it's like a beer, isn't it? A cold beer. For me, it's the first sip of cold beer. And I'm a little bit indifferent about the rest of it. And a pastel de nata, it's that first crunch into the flaky, into, into the flaky, it's been a while, into the flaky pastry and the custard as it melts on your tongue. I can murder one right now, having said that, and I'm sure a few other people can with that description. But it's that first taste, and the rest of it. You see, the problem is with these portion controls that we have in our culture. Can you imagine? You're American and you go and buy a pastel de nata, and it's about 12 inches across at Walmart or whatever. And it might be a bit more expensive now in Walmart. I don't know, but if you buy 500 of them and stick them in the freezer, they're only going to cost you $1 each or something. And that's the problem, isn't it? It's the portion size, not necessarily the thing being eaten. You got to drink the rest of that Imperial. You don't want to waste it. You got to eat the rest of that pastel de nata because of the first flavor. I do like the amuse-bouche approach, just to taste the flavor, and then someone else can eat the rest of it, can't they? As long as you haven't taken a bite out of it, of course. Bon dia todos. Thank you very much for that, and good luck with your week ahead, Coach Turner. Bon dia todos. Feliz quinta. Como estão? Tudo bem? Muito bem, obrigado. And Coach Turner was interrupted there by Banana Slug's interjection. Fruits and nuts as well. Purple fruit. Who doesn't like a purple fruit first thing in the morning? Purple fruit. How many of them are there? What's that? Aubergine, basically. Purple fruits, Mrs. M. Purple sprouting broccoli, which turns green anyway upon cooking. When was the last time you saw a purple fruit, Mrs. M? You don't have to answer that. Aubergine, purple sprouting. When blueberries? What, the famous purple blueberry?
Yeah, they're purple.
Okay. Oh, purple fruit, not vegetables necessarily. So plums. Who doesn't like to get their mouth around a nice purple plum first thing in the morning? We've got some beautiful plums, haven't we? Especially good, apparently, as they contain lots of antioxidants, which sounds like a bad thing, but it's actually good. Though I keep clear of beetroot. Yuck. I like beetroot. It still surprises me, though. Mrs. M does occasionally hear a scream from the lavatory as I suffer the results of eating beetroot and then realize, it's because I've been eating beetroot. No way, it's okay, I'm fine. Bon dia, Carl and Gumpers from a sun-bleached Belfast. A little bit of hype and hyperbole there, Deagle, possibly. Sun-bleached Belfast, we'll go with that. Day 6 of the heat wave. It's to be a stunning 26 today. On a negative note, it's only 18 at 20 to 3. Oh, he had a bad night. He had awful sleep. Might be a grumpy day. Sorry to hear about that, Deagle. How you doing, mate? Do let us know. Can listen in a little at 9. Second of the 3 MRI scans over 11 days. A few medical issues. Your health is your wealth. Yeah, Deagle, lots of love to you and those challenges that you're facing at the moment. So, yeah, love to you from all of us Gumpers here. And speedy recovery, and hopefully those scans and tests will bring you good results and point you in the right direction, my friend. From Banarnio Slug, I'm enjoying that name this week, James. Happy to have brought the sun and warmth with me. I forgot to pack it when I left. Yeah, still cloudy, cool, and rainy in Ericeira. Sorry for your nighttime discomfort. He's going to see what he can do about your weather. And it was an early Hola Bon Dia Todos from Carpe Diem this morning. Yeah, we'd love to catch up with you on your home build here in Portugal. And I think you did agree to coming onto the show, which would be wonderful to talk to you about that. Hola Bon Dia Alegria. Although we have unpacked a few things with Pete already, at 8:33, he said, what a lovely day yesterday with great sunshine surrounded by lovely people. Love Portugal, right? You can't get better than that, can you, Pete? You might be sitting there thinking, how does it get any better than this? Can it possibly? And maybe there's a tiny increment. It's like being an Olympic athlete, isn't it? Tiny increments of improvement. But basically, you've got the lot there, haven't you? Lovely day, sunshine, surrounded by lovely people. No doubt some good food and drink as well. Marvelous. I am so pleased for you and anyone else who finds themselves in that condition. And we're blessed, aren't we? Because we find ourselves in Portugal, where we have such a brilliant backdrop for doing so. As I did yesterday at the meetup, so good to see you in person, Chris and Joyce. Lovely to meet you, Dora. Great to see you, Michael and Alison, Don and June, T-Duck. Great to see you there. Thank you so much, mate. And who else was there? Phil and Maria, they brought a friend with them. It was just lovely. Oh, and Russell, my new mate, Russell, who's moved to the town as well. It was brilliant. Russell last week distinguished himself. I said, look, you see that group over there? It's a bunch of Americans. Why don't you go and say hello? Bit of networking, bit of maybe making some new friends. But why don't you wander over and stand over the table and say, hi, my name's Russell. I heard there was a meetup going on here. I'm from the IRS, and I understand this is an expat gathering, and I'm here to do a quick spot check. You should have seen the look on their faces. What a sport you are, Russell, as well. Frustrating delays on the house build, struggling to get. Thank you everybody who came to the San Martino de Porto meetup yesterday, and later on in the day, I think I must come close to my 10,000 steps for the first time yesterday in a long time. And we walked up to Gralha Beach, the family, and came back via a padaria. When I just, like I said, had a little nibble on the flavoursome things, a little nibble of the tosta mista, a black coffee, a lovely sumo laranja. Now's the time, folks, isn't it, to be getting that vitamin C through the freshly pressed oranges of Portugal. Some cafes you go to, they're buying the cheap oranges. It's a little bit, and sometimes it's so sweet. It's like, this is heavenly. I don't remember ever tasting an orange as sweet as this back in Blighty. This is fantastic. Can you imagine the first time sailors went back with oranges to England, and the first time people tasted those things? Bananas, oranges, potatoes even. Wasn't that Walter Raleigh who came back with potatoes for Her Majesty? And he was lucky not to have his head cut off. What bring you from the seas, Walter? I brought you this, ma'am, your majesty. And he pulls a spud out of his pocket. Off with his head! It's a what is that? It's a stone. No, wait, guards, wait. And then he boiled it, mashed it, or fried it even, maybe. Did they have chips back in them days? But if he creamed it up with some butter and salt on it, Her Majesty, I think, would have been deeply satisfied. And there began the British love of the potato. Frustrating delays on the house build, struggling to get a reliable electrician. Yeah, if you're going to get an electrician, you want a reliable one, don't you? Dangerous stuff to be messing around with. Brian, good morning to you. Oh, I forgot to spark up the WhatsApp to see what's been sent from Pete. Just sent you a photo of one of my favorite presents this birthday, Carl. Homemade wine. Pete, if you send me your address, I've got a birthday present for you. Homemade wine from Frankie off grid, as well as a homemade card from 9, 6, and 3-year-old. They're always great on there. Are they stuck on your fridge now, Peter? 2 bottles. Oh, look at that. Yes, that's got to be on the screen, isn't it? That's fantastic. And thank you for your full moon that I'm just seeing it again on the WhatsApp screen there. Yeah, that looks great. 2 bottles of Frankie Off-Grid's homemade wine. Very nicely created, bottled, packaged as well. Sometimes the homebrew can look a bit like they've not bothered too much in the packaging department. They've concentrated on what's inside the bottle. That looks beautiful, doesn't it? There, that side. And your vista in the background makes it all the more beautiful there. Pete, let me just take that off the screen there. They've got some nice writing there. Bin 22 by the look of it. What was it like? I'm sure it was delicious. It just, there is an added cachet, if that's the right word, to homebrew, isn't there? You just want it to be great, and I suspect it was as well. So thank you for that picture there. We've got more dental jokes coming in. This is being enjoyed. The new Museum of British Dentistry that it looks like has opened up in Portimao. Let's just get rid of your booze for a minute there, Pete. There's the new Museum of British Dentistry in Portimao. Very good, Douglas. One of those for you. Let's get back to the comments because we have only 5 minutes to go before Fabrizio and Ian join us. Well, more chat about the difference between a real estate agent and a buyer's agent. And of course, we love their more general life philosophy. And Ian might have something to say about Birmingham City Council going bankrupt. He might have nothing to say about it. He might not even want to talk about it. And I can understand that. Okay, we had those guesses, didn't we, about how much we're making from our YouTube channel. Don't get excited, Fabrizio and Ian, about a profit share on the YouTube channel. We're not there yet. Okay, going to the Algarve in October. Dentistry Museum sounds interesting. Do you have to stuff cotton wool in your mouth to ask questions? Yes, you do. That is part of the experience. I think we should go into a joint venture on this because there are a lot of very good ideas coming this morning from this new I don't think Fabrizio saw this, but I'm sure he'll agree. The new Museum of British Dentistry in Portimao or Cavatiero there in the Algarve. We've got to quiz Ali about this a little bit more later. So let me just make sure we've covered all the comments and said hello to everyone this morning. I don't like to leave this section without doing so. Plum, okay, and more talk of plums, mulberries, figs. Oh yes, you can get a purple fig, can't you? If your underpants are too tight. Blueberries. Yes, we did, didn't we? We had figs off our own trees, all of which we have made jam or booze from. You have to balance the health with the pleasure. Peter, that you will be quoted, just like Roman philosophers are, you will be quoted in years to come. It was the great Solar Life Portugal who once said, you have to balance the health with pleasure. Excellent. Morning, peoples, from Bobby O'Reilly this morning. Morning, Bobby. How you doing? Hoping to see you on the screen tomorrow. I don't want to interrupt your holiday, however, because I don't want to get in trouble with Mrs. O'Reilly. Irish aubergine is the... Oh, Jesus! Just in time for you, Bobby! Pass me the aubergines. I'm making a moussaka over here. Okay. And you can get, that's a really good idea, isn't it? The tiny bite-sized pastéis de nata. Yeah, but still, I think I could eat half of one of those and still get the flavor. But it's, and then you get to a point, don't you? There's no point in the baker making it. So maybe somebody can come with me and I'll just chop a little bit off and you can have the rest. Doesn't sound like a great offer, does it? It doesn't sound like a great date, that. Okay, you're going to the Algarve in October. Yep, Dentistry Museum. Make a note of that, Wayne. Best of luck, Deagle. Yeah, lots of love to you, Deagle. Bayrandi is in as well. Grapes, of course, purple fruit. And when I went to the festival, I noticed I had done 6,000 steps before going to bed at 3 a.m. There's the health benefits of going to festas. There are probably other benefits like going deaf. Probably things that aren't benefits like becoming deaf at a festival, ringing in the ears, too much drinking, too much boozing. But there you go. You can mitigate that with 6,000 steps before bedtime at 3 a.m. That is not a solid and good night's sleep, but a hell of a lot of fun. Dad joke warning then. Space could be filled with vampires, but we would never know because telescopes use mirrors. And garlic, I think. No, they don't use garlic. However, yes, that's so true. Space could be absolutely ridden with vampires, and we would have no idea. They could just be hanging there trying to scare us, and we're just blissfully unaware and ignorant of them in outer space. I'm loving this. I do think we've got a project on our hands here with the new Museum of British Dentistry in the Algarve. Keep those ideas coming, and just so that we don't forget. At the moment, I make 30 euros, and it's always an approximate guess. There are 1,500 or so subscribers. As Doug said, I produce a hell of a lot of content. Some say too much. I don't think I finished my comment about expats everywhere. As Josh, he told me, sometimes, Carl, less is more. But I can't, I'm here. And as I said yesterday, as long as there is gin-soaked breath in my body, I will be here in the mornings and doing this. So there will be at least 5 live streams a week. So there's no chance of less is more from me, I'm afraid. And yeah, for those 1,500 subscribers and with plenty of content, 30 euros a month currently from YouTube. You're welcome. Squire of the Shires is here. That sounds lovely, Solar. It does. Tastes blooming good as well, I'm sure. How was that wine, Peter? Looks good. Looks good. And that's who are we talking about there? Frankie Off Grid. Frankie Off Grid producing wine there. And you could probably watch a video on YouTube about it, in fact. Okay. We're going to go and talk to Fabrizio and Ian in just a moment. But I thought I saw a couple of comments coming in before we do that. So yeah, good to see you here, Squire of the Shires. Deaf Estival. Good name for a rock group. It is, yeah. It could be a Def Leppard tribute group, that, couldn't they? And most of those steps were prancing to the prodigy, queues and complicated cashless system to prevent too much drinking. Was the cashless system to prevent too much drinking, or were the World Economic Forum sponsoring the event there? Make sure you make an appointment before going to the Dentist Museum, which if you cancel will cost you a lot of money probably. And it shows you have to go to more festas. 6 so far, but 12 lined up in the next month. Not broken into the wine yet. Let us know when you do. We're going to give them a nice big round of applause because they're here to join us this morning. The lads in Lisbon. Fabrizio and Ian. Good morning, fellas. How are you?
Good morning. How are you? Now we are muted. Yeah, okay. Try again. Good morning.
Were you both pressing the mute button at the same time to
At the same
unmute?
time.
Yeah, happens. Me and Mrs. do that. How are you? You're back in Lisbon, I see.
Yeah. Actually, we haven't been away.
We haven't been away, really.
No, we've only been. I mean, we did a couple of concerts. That was all we did.
Right.
Yeah, we also saw the Prodigy. There you go.
Did you? And how was it?
we did.
Was it a good gig?
No, our favorite
Oh, okay.
was good.
Yeah.
I was shivering with trepidation, but
Oh, right.
it wasn't my favorite. The Blur were quite spectacular.
Right. Forgive my ignorance. Now, Prodigy lost their frontman, did they not?
That's right.
Yeah.
How does it work? How do Prodigy perform without that incredible frontman?
You know, is in all the tracks that he will have a singing or speaking or rapping part is blank, and the other guy, the one with dreadlocks, which is the other frontman, which I don't really remember his name. Yeah, he will do a lot of talking and a lot of singing about them. Not that successful, not that impactful, I would say.
Yeah,
But,
it's tricky, isn't it?
but great music.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. It just we did few steps ourselves.
Did you? Not your favourite of that lineup. Which festa was that in Lisbon?
It was
Colorama.
Calorama, okay. And your favourites were in that lineup?
Blur.
Oh, really?
We also saw another band called The Blaze, which I hadn't seen before. They were very good.
So yeah, we suggest The Blaze to everyone wants to check them out.
Yes, which is the first time I'd see the yes, but they were also very good.
Yeah,
They've
Not to
been
be
around.
mistaken by the yes. Which is a band called the yes and the yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There's probably the years as well somewhere. Got
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And how were Blur? I mean, Damon Albarn, he must be knocking on a bit now. How were they?
Spectacular.
They're
I would
really?
say there was a lot of Park Life, which was a very meaningful album for both of us, I think.
Yeah.
So it was great. We saw him live many times. We saw a few times Gorillaz live.
Oh, yeah.
But that was the first time we saw Blur, and it was just great. Also because it was the last show of this tour, and he was having a great time. And I said, "Oh, Portugal was a great place to perform," and it was just very relaxed. I said, "Oh, shall we do this one?"
Really?
So they did it. Yeah. It was very grateful. It was very grateful to find. I felt that to find that sort of vibe, and people was responding very well. So
I think it was a bit of a funny show because their album only came out a couple of weeks ago. So actually, although they've been touring all summer, this was the first time they'd put anything from that album into the show. From what I read. So it was a different show to what you normally get. Hence, it's been a bit ad hoc.
Yeah.
Well,
and then we saw Bjork the following day. That was a spectacular show.
You saw Bjork?
Mm.
Oh wow, that is an incredible lineup, isn't it? Well done, Lisbon. Well done, Portugal.
Yeah.
No, Bjork was on her own.
Yeah.
Was her own show in the Altis Arena. It was a great thing. There was a lot of invented musical instruments and choruses, and it was just beautiful. It was just
really?
Yeah.
So she's still continuing to delight and innovate. With what she does.
Yeah,
amazing. Pam, agreeing with you, Blur were great, but for me, Prodigy were excellent. And of course, it's Keith Flint, who they don't have anymore. And it's hard to imagine. I mean, it must be very difficult. I mean, people must have thought when Keith passed that there weren't going to be any more Prodigy gigs, but you kind of think about it, don't you? And it's like that, the show must go on. And I'm sure they did their absolute best without him. And then, with you're saying with Blur, how about we do this one now? You know if that's a setup or not, don't you? Because sometimes there is a set list that they're not going to deviate from, and then they'll say, a lead singer will say, "How about we do this now, just to get a crowd reaction?" But if all the musicians suddenly start fiddling about and rolling their eyes, the lead singer has just said that and has upset the set list, and all the band are like, "Oh God, no, not again!"
Also, because I think for some tunes, people were switching guitars and all the other things, so it's not just so coming out of the blue. I guess. But it felt quite spontaneous. It was quite spectacular.
Excellent. Okay, you get more feedback from gigs. Love this actually. So if you've been to see some big names, or if you've got some not so well known names that you want to share from the gig circuit this summer, do let us know. Morning, Louisa. We went to the gig before Nosh, which was brilliant. How can you not love an over enthusiastic one-armed drummer? That's got to be Def Leppard, right? Blur sound great. I like Gorillaz and Sean Ryder more. And yeah, morning, Pete. Always love that sound. Barefoot Broadcast, Louisa here. She'll be with us at 10, or she'll be doing her own show at 10, the Barefoot Broadcast. Don't listen so much now as Carl. What's this? Has more of a jazz vibe going on. Yeah, well, some of us grow up. Our taste unites with 80s music and glam rock and 70s yacht rock genre. A yacht rock gathering in the Algarve, Mrs. M. How would that be? That would be superb, wouldn't it? And maybe
I love the concept of yacht rock. Yeah. We support you with glam rock too, because as David Bowie will say, why do you want TV when you got T-Rex?
Yes, yeah. So glam rock, sure. I mean, we can agree on that. Do you know the yacht rock genre?
No.
It's Steely Dan, Michael McDonald. There was a time in the 80s, Toto, these sorts of bands who were doing smooth rock sort of stuff, but they were great musicians, and so their great musicianship came in, and thus the yacht rock genre was born. There's some hilarious. It is slightly tongue in cheek, and there are some hilarious videos online as well from Hollywood Steve who reports about the genre. But I love it. It's my kind of music. So jealous, says Pam. I wanted to see Bjork, but not got the stamina these days. Saw her in 1990 when she was in the Sugar. I nearly said the Sugar Babes. Bjork was never in the Sugar Babes. As much as she wanted to be, they just wouldn't have her. They said no, the Sugar Cubes. Okay, excellent stuff. Now, a few conversational threads this morning, chaps. It's always important, I think, to return to this idea of the distinction between real estate agents and buyer's agents. And we had a little taste of this on Tuesday with some Tony time. And also, and I'd love you to comment on this, if not now, then in a webinar we're probably likely to have about the subject, is how it's good in some ways that the real estate industry in Portugal is evolving, changing. Some might say improving. And we are going into more of this kind of bidding war style, which somebody it was a YouTube comment that started this off. It was like, oh, no, we're not going there, are we? We're not getting into this American and British bidding war situation and that's all part of people being priced out of the market. No, please say it's not true. Is it true? Is it inevitable? Let's come back to that. Can we go first to the distinction between the real estate agents and the buyer's agents, which of course you are?
Yeah. Well, I guess the 2 points will potentially collide and come together, you see. Because what we do, the specification of our jobs is to deliver a mediation, if you want, or a search, or representation of our client, and our client is the buyer.
Yeah. But what's important, of course, is to say that we're acting on the side of the buyer, whereas estate agents are always obviously acting on the side of the seller. Because
sometimes in Portugal, when they're acting for, I mean, that is part of the problem here, you might say, isn't it? And that's our starting definition, isn't it? You know, we've got real estate agents are representing the seller, and you are representing the buyer in the face of that sales process.
I mean, there's a bit of me that says it's not just a problem in Portugal. I think it's a general problem, is the fact that, you know, whenever we've sold properties, you know, when we sold our properties in London, it was always the same thing. The estate agent would come back to say, well, these have done this, but I'm sure you can get this. So they're obviously pushing for a higher value as well. You know, so even if we were kind of thinking, oh, that sounds a reasonable offer, it's not. You know what I mean? Because they're also pushing and saying, no, you'll get more and we'll find something else in that. So that's one distinction. But I mean, the other one is just knowing the market. And I don't think there is, and again, this is a global problem. I think a lot of people point to the problem at Portugal, but it's not. It's a global problem. There is a great influence on keeping house prices going up, on the fact that it's a funny sort of thing to sell properties because it's very unique. You know, if you went to buy a car and you said, I want this type of car, you probably find 6 types of cars you can buy, and you just pick one of them.
Yes.
If you went to a home and actually didn't have the money in your pocket, you just wandered around, you could probably find 50 different homes to look at. of a similar specification that are completely different, and you still, and then you're just in this quandary of the person that walks in at the right time in the right place, loves that place, and just puts the cash on the table, and that's it.
Yeah.
When you're coming from a foreign market, as most people are, where property prices are significantly higher, so you already have a bigger spending power, you think you're getting the real bargain. And I don't think we'd be far wrong in saying we experienced that, because we came here thinking we had a good deal. And now looking back to what we did 5 years ago when we bought this property,
the one that we live in,
we definitely would have got a better deal. Because we were heavily influenced by just that difference. The property here was over a third less than we sold in London, and it was 50% bigger. So when you look at it like that, when you come as a foreign buyer, you think, wow, look what I'm getting for what for what I'm doing. Now looking back, it wouldn't have been a huge difference. I'm not sort of saying, it would have been half the price or something, but we probably could have knocked a few more % off and still come out with a good deal.
Yeah, but I guess this is fascinating, because there are forces at work suddenly, aren't there? You come from a culture, let's say you're a UK or US buyer, and you see what you can get for your money. Now, in that is the kind of penalty for Portuguese people. They know what their market is. They've grown up with it, and in come people with arguably a lot more money and resource, and relatively speaking, it's like, well, I get so much more bang for my buck here. I don't mind paying more than the Portuguese. And also, I don't even know that I'm paying more than Portuguese people might. And this is the dynamic, I think, which is causing.
I think the only one strange thing is there is only one bit of transparency that's missing from the Portuguese market, which you do get in the UK market, is you can see the actual selling price. Because that's the one thing that's a bit peculiar here. It's almost impossible, at least I don't think it's in the public domain, where you can find the selling price.
Yes.
In the UK, you can actually find the whole history of any home and exactly what it sold for. So you can start to get a good feel for, look, somebody tried to put that on the market for 600,000, but it only sold for 500. So you can get a sense of
when here,
reality check.
Here, even for market research, if you want to do a market research of a typology of property by area, what you will see is you will have this market research based on listing price. And not selling price. So listing price could be anything, any number that someone woke up with, or any sort of ambition.
It's like going to a flea market, isn't it? It's like you're walking down a street in a market, and it's like, how much is that, mate? And they just say, they look at you and think, hold on, okay, for you, and that's how it is with housing here to a great extent, isn't it? And would an MLS is that what that is? Is the MLS this? I don't know what that stands for even, but this is the American way, isn't it? Because I'm sure the Brits didn't come up with that. British people hate talking about money, so they wouldn't have been publishing how much their house is worth or anything like that. It must have come from America originally, right? This whole.
I think it did. I think there was I think actually there was a bit where people were starting to force the land registry to publish data. By putting in public information requests. And at one point, it was cost them so much, they just said, fine, we just open the database.
Open it up. Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
And that was it. But I think it's a fairer way, because it's true that it's not a very transparent market wherever you look. And even in terms of a price, it's quite difficult, because as well with estate agents, people also have an idea of what price they want. And what I've seen happen is with the estate agent on the selling side, they go and say, it's worth this. Then you say, that's not a very good deal. What were you thinking? I was thinking this. Okay, then we'll go with that, because they know they're going to get the sale. Whether that's what they really think they're going to be able to sell it for is neither here nor there, and maybe they'll get that, or maybe they'll get a lot less. The thing about that, obviously, to the seller, is you're trying to get that thing on your books to sell. And what we're looking at is we're trying to give everybody good reasons why you shouldn't. There are properties there which you say that's the property, and actually I think that's what it's worth. There's other ones where you can go in, you can say no, and not maybe sometimes the buyers will think it's overpriced. They say, well, we like this one, but we think it's a bit too expensive. So there's another aspect of it saying, well, you probably won't get it for that, or try this. Look at all the things that are wrong. We can now spot the things that are wrong. We'll take the gloss off you walking into the place and go, wow, and we'll say, okay, Mr. Taylor, but you know the reality of this, there's a damp patch up there, and there's this problem here, and there's a problem over there. You know this, and these people have got cash in the bank to buy. What's the other? You know what I mean? We'll give everybody all the ammunition.
And that's what you weren't like when you bought yours, right? You were different.
We were moved by also the excitement of the moment. There was an emotional side. There was our own home and our switch in life. We couldn't take that dynamic out of our mood. Therefore, we succumbed for it. But we're very happy. We're not moaning. But thinking about numbers and the process as professionals now, we didn't even think to tackle this as a form of professional adventure at that time. So all this number and rational thinking was in place. But we were moved by emotion. We were moved by the fact that we love the place. And we're very happy. We're still very happy. Could we get 10 grand less now? Yeah, I guess. But we had to take our heart out of it, and we got our heart in almost everything we do. So it wasn't that case.
Yeah. But you can do that for other people now, right? That's the approach you can take for others, because there's the pull, the emotion. You can be more objective, can't you?
Yeah,
people say, you know what, this is overpriced. We can go in lower here, and this. I mean, it's part of this is an incredible evolution, isn't it? You know, for Portugal, for the people who are coming, and that's where this kind of upset came from. The comment that was on the YouTube channel after Tony's appearance on Tuesday, and he was, he's representing a seller, and he was talking about, we're accepting bids, and we're going to get the highest price for this house. And when you're selling a house, you want that guy. Now, when you're buying a house and you're coming into Portugal, you are thinking to yourself, like, it's not 2010 anymore. It's not even 2020. Am I going to even afford a house now with the way things are going, with all this talk of bidding wars and so on? I mean, that sadly is where we're at, right? And whoever said, I would like to accept less. I mean, some people do. We do hear of this in Portugal. Someone saying, I want that person. They're paying less, but I want that person. And you say, you do hear of this, and a better reflection, if you like, of human nature. But generally speaking, no one's going to say, get me a lower bid, are they?
No. Well, unless there's influences on that, for example, the cash buyer versus somebody who's got to go for the mortgage.
Yes, right. Because they don't think they're going to get the other. Yeah, exactly. So there's a good reason for that. But no one never says it from a sort of, I love these people so much more than those greedy looking ones. I'll take a lot less money for my house. It doesn't. We don't live in that world. We don't live in a world where that's possible necessarily. Although there are exceptions that prove that rule.
I think the only reason why I found that particular comment, well, maybe offensive in some way, I think it should be classed more as unprofessional. Not the wrong thing to say that this poor guy, I don't even know, but because I don't think you should. The problem with when you go to anything in auction, and when you have what you consider to be amateurs in an auction, because I've been to auctions where the public have come into something and they've tried to buy something. Whatever they bought, sometimes the first 2 or 3 of those items are well over what you'd buy them in the shop, because we would say, I want this, and somebody else comes in. They're so shocked. They're like, oh, no, I want more. They keep like, it's like a card, but you know what I mean? When you're a non-professional card player, you just keep swapping the cards down. I think I think it's very similar, to doing that sort of thing. And so I think to underprice something to get a big number of buyers and then force them to compete against each other, okay, it's true. It's a way of selling real estate, but I don't think it's a very fair way, because you've already underpriced in the first instance to try and get people into that thing. And so, there's a bit of a sense it's a grey area. I don't,
it's certainly represent.
I don't think that's what he was doing, and that's what's happened is the emotion has come in again to this situation. There are people who are feeling like they're going to suffer as a result of that kind of strategy. And he will get a right to reply for sure. We will have, we'll have a webinar about this because that's what I've been talking to Tony about this, and that's what he suggested, which is to look at how the market is operating at the moment, and where it could go culturally, how it is at the moment, and how both buyers and sellers can get the best out of taking part. And it is a bloody business as well, let's face it. It is one of those notorious areas of life which is full of stress and fraught with anxiety, but we'll do our best to minimize that by getting some blooming good speakers on, Tony included, yourselves if you'd like to be there, and we'll have a long leisurely conversation about this one evening, and people can learn more about the situation. But sorry, Fabrizio, I interrupted you there.
No, the only comment that I was doing on this bidding war system is that if the aim is to increase potential audience or potential offers, I will say that in the case that I was representing a buyer,
Yep.
or following a buyer in this process, and that kind of scenario will appear, I don't mean to be any aggressive in this sort of comment, but I will strongly advise my buyer to walk away from it.
Right. Okay.
Because as a rule, and knowing many agents and the rule is that usually an asking price is never what you should achieve. So as a rule of thumb, I will say to you, staying on the side of buyers all the time, you always make an offer against a listing price. Okay. And the offer is clearly always low. but because that's the way it is, you know. You list one thing at the maximum price. But isn't any product launch in any sort of scenario? So it's nothing too mysterious that I'm disclosing here. And but if I will have that sort of scenario that appeared to me, an agent will come to me and say, also because I'm the person in the middle, which also I will say to remark that from the process of selling and buying the property, we don't own and don't earn anything. Our earning doesn't come from the process of selling. An agent will have a 5% on the selling price.
Yeah.
And then if two agents are involved into that, they will both share this percentage.
Yes.
I don't know what they will talk against each other. We will not earn anything out of this. We will have a percentage that we stipulate with our buyer, which is considerably low.
Yeah.
And that's it. So I think we're not involved into that. So we will be more remote.
So what are you're driven by getting them a decent price, and well, not just price but value. It's what they want at the right price given the market and their budget.
Yeah, exactly. And also we custom the search in terms of, I mean, if an investor which will never leave somewhere say to me, I need you to find me a property which increased the price in 7.2% within the, I'll say to him, mate, we don't work with you. Sorry, I got my mom on the phone. Our client. So our search and our business model come from experience. Yeah. We're not trying to promote ourselves as the most knowledgeable estate professionals in the business. We are people that got business links and come from a path of life, which we can apply and it's been successful to find property for people that need schools nearby, or they need to go, they like to go to restaurants in the evening and they want an area that is there, and then it's got a metro close by, or they don't want any restaurant next to it but they want a park. And there's that kind of journey we follow. So that's our customer base, which edits out all these other.
And how's it going? I mean, you know, Paul's here. Paul's been keeping his eye on the market for the last couple of years. I take it. I'm just to make a big assumption here. You know, interest in Portugal, certainly Lisbon, is on the up and up. Prices are going up. People are fearing a crash at some point. What's your commentary on that?
I think that actually there's a lot of prices coming down, and they're at the top end of the market, and they're sort of they're probably the mid range of the market.
Okay.
I have noticed a lot of people do reductions there. I mean, the global market in general will drop. And that will affect every single country. I don't think there's any doubt that's going to happen. You know,
and lots of people have agreed on that. What they can't agree on is when it's going to happen, obviously.
When it's going to happen. Well, here, I think, you see, this is the other problem as well, I guess, when you don't really know how prices are going. Because, for example, I also follow a little bit the UK markets. And what's interesting there is the fact that now At the lower end prices, I mean, they just came out figures today, so they're dropping by 5%. But weirdly enough, ironically, the £10 million plus properties dropped by 3%. So it's like there's a complete disparity. Now, what I don't know about the Portuguese market in some cases is when people are buying the £1 million plus properties, as we know happens, if those are still going up because it's true there's shorter supply and they're usually in a place where people really want to buy it, people have got cash, they still see that as cheap, and so as many people do, and they just come in and buy it. On the other side of it, though, now I think there's definitely a second home market which is starting to come back on. I'm sure there are people who have rented out accommodation, maybe not permanently, maybe even on the short-term rental side of it, who are now who took mortgages, foolishly probably took mortgages to do those, and now are having to remortgage from time to time, and are realizing that actually the costs don't stack up anymore.
Yeah.
Especially probably having gone through losses over 2 years of COVID. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's a few people there who said, God, we've already, we need to get out of this business. We just can't afford to do it.
And
so there's definitely a side of that which is dropping, and prices are going to drop it in Portugal. I don't think there's any doubt about it. It's how much they will compare with other places. And we already know in other bits of Europe, they're already to double percentage figure drops, as in America as well.
And we might be lucky, mightn't we? I mean, Portugal often has a special sort of place in how the world trends operate. So we could have a softer crash, if you like, here in Portugal, couldn't we? Because where there are very extreme volatile real estate markets, America notably, where things can boom and bust. We're in the slipstream of that, aren't we? So we can adjust. I mean, that's not to minimize anyone's suffering or the problems that might come as a result of that, but it might not be as bad. What about this? What about this situation where people are unloading property in Lisbon or not buying it anymore because of the AL licensing? Are you seeing anything around that? Because there was a real confidence problem, wasn't there, in whether that was going to be a viable option? People aren't.
Yeah, I think. I guess the problem is if you've got the AL license, you already have it. If once you lose it, you can't. So I think there's that kind of thing. There is quite a high level of. There is quite a high level of those properties that are coming onto the market. Yeah. I think that's probably good though, actually, because I mean some of them are quite reasonable sizes, and if you've got an okay-ish budget, you can pick up some bargains.
Okay, so that's as somebody coming in and investing, that's a government kerfuffle and nightmare basically with the housing policy could work to your advantage. Couple of comments. We'll welcome Ali in just a moment with a preview of Snapshot magazine. Pete, this is a good approach, isn't it? If you can build your own, you're out of a lot of these problems. We were incredibly lucky with our builders who were free during COVID and allowed us, perfect storm. We allowed us to build a house of our dreams, which combined with their inventiveness and local knowledge, as well as master craftsmen. Brilliant, Pete. It was so good to see that unfold. And I'm so pleased for you where you've got to with that now. Paul says, hi, Carl. I've been actively watching the market for 2 years now. Cash is still king. Probably always will be. Unless we go to a cashless society, but let's not go there right now. Prices are getting better to challenge summer rentals. Summer rentals are finishing and more properties are coming onto the market. Yes, of course, there will be that phenomenon as well. Pete says there are so many things that are local to the environment you have moved to that locals understand that you may not. And that's why another reason to have a buyer's agent. For example, how the house faces the sun is vital, not using sun-degradable plastic, simple things like that. Prices, Paul continues, are dropping on unsaleable properties. There is still a shortage of good quality houses in the right place, position. Number one factor. Thank you for your commentary there. Yeah. And Pam, so happy to have found my perfect property 8 years ago. I'd be happy to never move again. That's a lovely position to be in, isn't it? And Lord Portuglish is here with a great flourish of everyone. It's 9:30. I'm sure we will probably continue a little bit more with this real estate and buyer's agent and property talk. Before we go to Ali, is there anything you wanted to say that you haven't managed to so far with how you work or how you see the market?
Probably too much, so therefore we'll probably keep quiet for now, and then we'll maybe revisit it again next month if we don't speak.
And then let's do that webinar. Let's have a sort of an hour or two one evening, and have a few professionals on the screen. Have a drink and have a chat. Have a pub chat about the market with a few professionals. I think that'll be a great evening. I'm sure Tony will have a great wine recommendation for that evening.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about Birmingham City Council. Should we not? Should we give it a miss?
We won't, no.
Let's just give Ali a big round of applause and bring her onto the screen. Oh my goodness, let's make some room on this screen. Hi, Ali. How are you?
Morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you. And we got very excited, Ali. Before we get into the preview of Snapshot, how are you and how's the Algarve? Tell us how you're doing.
Yeah, I'm fine. I love September. I'm so glad August is over, I have to confess. I'm a real local, I think, now. It's like, oh, good, tourists are going away. The beaches are empty and lovely.
Yes.
But yeah, September's one of my favourite months out here. The temperature's just right for me. It's lovely. So
excellent, excellent. All right. We might need you to skinch up a little bit to your microphone. You're sounding a little bit echoey.
Right, okay. Is that better?
Yeah, a little bit. But that'd be great if you could be mindful of that, because we want to hear you. We want to hear what you're saying this morning and get your response to our earlier concerns that there is a museum of British. Is this true that there is a museum of British dentistry opening up in the Algarve?
Yes, I think so. I'm not sure their marketing's quite on trend yet, but we'll get there.
Right, okay, we'll come back to that. And let's say a little bit more about this, because it applies to all of us, I think. The Lisboetas on your screen here, me in San Martin de Porto, Silver Coast, and you in the Algarve. It's true, and our Portugal quiz question today is about this. We have definitely clunked, haven't we, from August into September. What a massive change there has been here. Has it been the same for you, Ali, in the Algarve? Is it noticeably very different?
Well, we're not too bad because we're Algarve, so we moved purposefully away from the main Algarve to just get that slightly quieter way of life. So I think Algarve, yes, it's busier. We had a huge 5-day festival where the music was still going at 3 o'clock in the morning and nobody could sleep. So you get a little bit of that, but it's certainly not as hot or as busy as the main Algarve. So which suits us fine. I love the lady that said, I bought my perfect house 8 years ago, I'm never moving. That's us as well. We're 5 years ago this week. We bought this house, having moved from Fergudo, and it's been the best move we could make.
It's lovely to hear that. Lovely to hear that. Yeah.
We should have a joint anniversary because it's 5 years next week that we moved here.
There you go. You see, it's obviously an itchy time 5 years ago then. But we were 8 years in Fergudo before permanent, and we bought the house almost 20 years ago. So we've seen a lot of market changes, obviously, over the years. So it's but I'm so happy we managed to find a house. Because you're right, things like which way the house faces for the sun is so important when you're buying. And the first time round, we just fell in love with the view. We were lucky we bought a good house, but this time we had a real wish list of definite yes and absolute no when we were looking for a house. So we were really lucky.
You better come to the webinar as well. We want that list, because you don't know these things, do you? You that's why you need the agents, because you don't know these things when all you're doing is going on your emotional reaction to the house. A lot can be missed, and mistakes can be made with that. And actually, incidentally, tonight there'll be some talk about that on the Expats Portugal webinar. It's more a matter of avoiding cowboy builders and grifters and so on, and some of the bad experiences people have had, and how you can avoid them. So that's 7:30 tonight on the webinar. How is Lisbon, Fabrizio and Ian, with tourism? Was there a noticeable change? Probably not for you so much, because it's not the Portuguese people aren't holidaying in Lisbon. Quite the opposite.
This year has been a lot busier than the few years before.
Right.
Even on the local beach stretch, there was a lot more people, because usually in August was the best time ever, because we could get there in 15 minutes and park our car just straight on. It wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. There wasn't this huge exodus of people on holiday. Everybody's a little bit broke.
I guess so.
I guess.
Yeah. I think there was a report anyway that said about 50% of the Portuguese were saying they weren't going to go on holiday this year. They were going to do something more locally. So I think that reflected, here.
And the huge peak was around the Pope visitors thing, but we escaped, so we don't know about that. We went.
Yes.
We were deep in our sinful life away from here. So
actually, Ali, we were quite worried about you because the fires were quite close to you. The very big fire, if I remember rightly, because we had friends that went down that way a week after we went, and they just said they couldn't go out because of that. And I thought, oh no. Then I suddenly remember where you were.
Must have been terrifying.
There's a lot in Snapshot this month. They took some amazing photos after it had all kind of calmed down. We were lucky in Algarve that it was just north of us. We obviously had friends in the middle of it. Like one of my friends sent an awful, dreadful photo of literally the land around her house, and it's like something out of a horror movie, really. So it's a really tough one. We had friends, I think it was 5 years ago, the Monchique fires in Foya that were really, really bad. And we had friends that literally left the house and come and stayed with us for a while. It's heartbreaking when you have friends that are in the Bombeiros that are fighting that are trying to save. Luckily no lives were lost this time, but quite a few houses destroyed, and it's just people's livelihoods. Houses that they've built from scratch in a lot of cases. A lot of the houses that were really badly damaged were out in the rural kind of. A lot of people that wanted to live off grid or live a simpler way of life that have put their life savings into something. To see that go up is terrible. I think the worst bit, we're not far from the actual fire station here, and you can just hear all the sirens in the Wales. There's another set of, engines go out, and you immediately go onto the alerter site on Facebook to find out where it is, because you think, well, okay, it's going to be around here somewhere. But I think the Odemira one, it was almost a week before they got it completely under control. 10 days later, they still had fire crews on standby 24/7 on the site to, in case it came again. So the welcome, we didn't have much, but we had a bit of rain. The welcome rain that came Monday was like, oh yes, at least that dampens the ground down. We can calm down again. But it's horrible. It's horrible to hear the stories. It's horrible to just you can feel the heat. You can smell it. And you never know. This was a really bad one because it just kept jumping. It jumped across main roads and hit other land. And it covers such a large area then. You literally don't know where it's going to go next. So it's, I have to say, I salute every single person that's out there fighting that, because I couldn't do it. I did policing for a number of years, but fire for me would just be an awful thing to try and counteract it.
Yeah, well said. So, whenever we get the chance to support the Bombeiros, let's do that. Yes, a sobering reminder there, and we do have some images, the aftermath that Dave has taken when we have a look at the new, my special edition of the new Snapshot magazine for the autumn. In a way, I guess it's a September episode edition. Not everybody's happy it's September, though. Look, I wish it was still August. This is an academic speaking, isn't it? Obviously. We noticed that the Algarve and the Festas this year were markedly quieter than previous years, a sign of the times, perhaps. And Pam, in our sort of situation here, I think glad that it's moving towards September and out of August. Looking forward to going to Nazaré again after avoiding it in August. I think it'd be nice to get back to normal. So, somebody, I think, back behind their virtual desk after enjoying a great summer in the Algarve. Good to have you here, Lord Gilchrist. And the rains, you say, have been a welcome change to the sting of summer heat. And you also need to rest your liver a bit. Well done. Okay. All right, that's fantastic. Thank you very much for all your comments. Keep them coming. Let's have a look now at the September edition of Snapshot magazine, which always has a beautiful image on the cover. And this one, no exception. Sorry, Fabrizio and Ian. Let me just put you up there so you can still be seen. And I will hide behind the comments. You can just see my massive forehead peeking out from the comments. And there we have our cover star. This is a good reflection, isn't it, of Festa season and some of the amazing events you have down there. Could you remind us where this is from, please, Ali?
Yeah, it's Silge. We promised you lots of shots of Silge, the medieval festival. For me, I know there are loads of medieval festivals that happen around the country, but for me, Silge is always a special one. I think it's because it's the old capital of the Algarve. It has history that, it's got a huge castle, it's got the big cathedral. It actually still feels medieval when you walk around normally. So it doesn't take a lot to transform the streets into, the medieval times. But there's something magical. I mean, tens of thousands of crowds go every night. I think it was a really busy one this year.
Look at this.
It's the costumes, it's the actors. I think Dave has got to know. I mean, all of these faces, we actually know them all now. We know their names. We share lots of their images on Facebook with them directly. And they come banging up to Dave to be photographed now, which is really lovely. So,
That's
but he captures something about the essence of it for me in his photos. It's not just the costumes. These actors live these roles, and you think in the heat. I mean, it was 42 degrees on some of the nights Dave was photographing, and the guy, both of these, in full armour. And it's not costume, it's not lightweight, that is proper metal armour that guy's wearing there, and it's 42 degrees, and you kind of go, that's real acting.
It is, isn't it? And that puts a new spin on, I'm just getting ready to go out. Like, these days, we're very lucky, aren't we? And then we still make a big fuss of it. I've got my favourite shirt, my lucky underpants and everything. But this takes it to a whole new level, doesn't it? Of getting ready to go out. I mean, did you get any sense being near these folks, how heavy these things are and how hot they must be? I mean, you've mentioned it just there, but do you ever get to try them on, Ali?
No, they're all perfectly made up. You wouldn't want to spoil anything that they've spent a long while putting together for the night.
True, they'll take your arm off with a sword.
A lot of them wear full armour, and there's a full horse show that happens as well. There are the live animals that are in it as well. But it's just the spectacle of seeing the streets completely transformed. With all of the huts and the food and everything that goes with it. But yeah, it's the costumes, but it's these actors. They really live those roles.
They do.
These guys are amazing, aren't they? The guy every year wears a brilliant costume. But
right, yeah.
But
so
when you look at the pustules and the marks and everything, they look real. I mean,
yes, I would be minded to go up to that young lady and say, "My goodness, your pustules are looking fabulous today." I mean, these two are incredible. And let's make it clear, this is not the advertising for the new British Museum of Dentistry. These are people at the same. This is how people used to. I guess this is what we think people used to look like in medieval times. And this, what character is this chap representing on the left here? What is he selling us?
I'm going to try and find out. I know a lot of them. I mean, the great part is that you have the knights, you have the royalty, and then you have the poor, and they all come together. And these guys will, they'll be shouting and they'll be fighting on the streets, and really playing their roles fantastically well. But I don't know exactly whose role is on the left, but it's amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing, and it's lovely to see Helena Bonham Carter is keeping busy as well in these times. Okay, so that's brilliant, and send our love, of course, and thanks to Dave. Superb, and your work obviously should have a special place in Snapshot here. How's it going with your work?
Yeah, I'm really excited that it's the expo's coming up. 21st of September it starts in Portugal. I read up a big article in The Resident this week. There's over 200 artists and galleries that are exhibiting in Portimao Arena. So if you're in the least bit interested in art, I mean, I've tried to price my work. I've got some pieces that are around 125, and I got to about 700. So I've tried to price everything to sell. To be quite honest, I don't like my work hanging around on the walls here. So I've been painting all the last few months. They're all ready to go. But there's a whole range of art, sculpture, all sorts that's going to be there. It's going to be really exciting. It's the first time I've done a big exhibition out here with other artists. I've always done my own pop-up gallery in small venues. So for me to be at a big exhibition with a lot of international artists is going to be really exciting. Really looking forward to it.
Good luck with that. Now you've got an Alyson Sheldrake on your wall with your your signature approach here. If somebody wants to buy one of these before or something like it, they can get in touch with you presumably in much the same way.
I mean, that's one of the things we do with Snapshot. We always say if you subscribe, you will get the best offers. You will find out things first. So what I've done is I put all the paintings that will be for sale. Obviously you've just got one page there. There's about 6 pages. But I put all the prices that will be the price for the show, which is at least 30% less than anything on my website. And if you wanted to buy any before the show, you can. So I always try and say to people, look, you subscribe free, but there's usually there's something in there for you for being a subscriber. So
there you
I'm
go.
really looking forward to it. It's going to be a good show, I think.
It is, isn't it? It looks huge in Portimao there from September 21st to the 24th. Sadly, we can't be with you. We're going to be in Araoera, but I wish you the best of luck. With that, Ali looks fantastic. This lady here, Lena Strange, we interviewed her a long time ago on the Good Morning Portugal show. How's she doing?
She's amazing, isn't she? I love her.
Yeah.
She sets up so many things in the Algarve for authors, which is lovely. So there's a big book fair that's happening in Lagos, and we're doing 2 nights where authors will be presenting their books and chatting and signing copies. But Lena's, I love her because she's fluent in Portuguese. I mean, she's Swedish, Finnish. She's bilingual. She speaks perfect English. She taught English in England for many years, and she's fluent in Portuguese. It's really annoying, actually, because she's so good.
Show off.
So frustratingly brilliant at languages. But what I love is her books. What she's done is she's gone and interviewed Portuguese people, which I would love to have been able to do but couldn't, and has found out lots of history and stories of local families and local companies, all through Portuguese people, and translated them all. So her books are in English and in Portuguese. You can buy them.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Lagos then, date for your diary, Lagos Book Fair, and that coincides with the art fair, but you can see either side of the art fair from the 17th to the 29th of September. That's fantastic. And do give her our best regards. Look at this. Fantastic. More.
I know.
Wow.
Look at that grin, those little teeth. They're adorable.
Those little teeth. Oh, there's Sarah there. And not some pictures from Dave on this occasion here. Deposit photos. What's happening here? The Egyptian mongoose.
No, it's not. I knew I'd get you. I knew you enjoyed last month trying to guess the Egyptian mongoose.
Yeah, we won one.
You don't want it. So I thought I'd literally this one raced across our path on the river walk one morning. So I thought, I'll grab some deposit photos because I'll never be able to photograph this one.
Ocelot.
No, keep guessing. No, and I struggle to pronounce this thing if it's any consolation.
The leopard stoat. It's a leopard stoat.
No, it's well, I think it's pronounced as genet.
Oh, yes.
In Portuguese, but a genet. So it's,
or a genet, some people say, don't they?
Yeah, I think some people say genet, but I kept trying to look it up because I thought I will at least try and pronounce this properly for the show.
I was expecting something about that. It's just Janet.
Janet.
Oh, hello, Janet.
There you go. You got Zara and Janet on the screen.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's carnivore. It's there only in Iberia, Italy, and France, apparently, across Europe. So again, it's another rare creature that I happen to have wandering past my path every morning along the river. But incredible. We saw one actually that was quite ill a few months ago that was actually lying still. So I actually managed to get quite close and have a look. The tail on them are incredible. It's the only way you know what it is from the tail.
Oh, you get a flash of that.
Striped tail, very, very distinct markings on it. But look at those ears as well. They're incredible, aren't they?
Well,
it's beautiful.
Didn't Ricky Gervais do a book where he mashed up animals together? This looks like one of those composite animals, doesn't it? It's got the leopard skin, it's got the ringtail of the ringtail limb, it's got bat ears, it's got a cat-like face. It's quite extraordinary. So there you go. There's Janet.
Janet.
Janet. Portuguese better than the. Well, I think it's French, isn't it? It's a Genet, I think.
Yeah. It is Janet the Genet, Le Genet, I think. Look, a fork in the road. Very good.
I know. Yeah, I put this in specially for you, Carl.
Thank you so much.
Seriously, we're walking along one morning and she stops and is like, "What are you looking at now?" And for no reason, in the middle of the road is a nice shiny metal fork. Seriously, nothing else around.
It could have been worse.
No, just a fork.
You could have seen a fucker lying there, couldn't you? Luckily, you've got the garfo and not the fucker in the road there, I think.
Exactly. It's a worry, isn't it? Such a worry.
Maybe next month. Okay. And who is this beauty? This is Pam. Oh, you're a namesake dog for Pam. Pam in our community is more of a cat person, but here's a dog called Pam.
I know, she's sweet, isn't she? Every month we share one from Isa just to try and promote that, you know, another dog that needs a home. It's interesting. These are this month. They've had a big article in the newspaper. Them and ARA, who are one of the other big rescue charities out here, really starting to complain about the problems with rescue and the numbers. They've got about, I think it's 57 cats at the moment in the shelter, let alone dogs, and more coming in all the time. And they're just not getting the support, unfortunately. I mean, unless we start to look at neutering, spaying as a real way forward, this is just going to continue. And every time there were 5 pups left at the shelter door overnight. Pam was one of them. And they're only little pups, bless them. They're only born sort of July time, so they're very young. She's a sweet. She's going to be quite big, I think. But look at the sweet little face.
I will talk to Mrs. M. We've got room for another dog, I'm sure. No, we don't, she says. Okay, we've got 2 kittens. So we're doing our bit at the moment. Okay, we've got to move on. We have so much fun chatting here. The time flies by. Mrs. M is up at 10 o'clock with the Barefoot broadcast. We've got a classic sangria here, haven't we? The party in a picture. I mean, a sangria definitely gets the party started. So a lovely Spanish flavored drink there. I think it's Spanish in origin, isn't it? Coming across from Ivan there. And a lovely couple here running Relish, which sounds like we've been drinking sangria already when we say the name of it. I'm saying it's Relish. What is the story?
There we go. Yeah, really nice. Lovely young couple. I love that gorgeous little boy of theirs. He's adorable, isn't he? They took it over about a year ago now, quite a fading guest house, and they're really up to the game. It's lovely. But they've come out with some really, I love asking local people, where would you go to eat? Where's the best beach? Because you get those little hints and tips that you wouldn't know otherwise. And there's a couple of places even I haven't been to that they've mentioned that are in Algarve. So I'm like, I'm going to have to head there and have a look around. It's a nice feature. It's always good asking people. I'll get Fabrizio and Ian one week. You can, although it's top 5 Algarve, we'll sneak a.
Yes. Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. There's Dorian and Stuart there were mentioning, or you're mentioning, Sargo, Ose, and Ared, the establishments that you mentioned. And yes, of course, we've talked about the awful fires and the importance of supporting the local bomberos wherever you can, all around the country. And Ali's book, top right-hand corner there, 10% of the profits donated to the Alerta charity. Doing your bit there with the awful situation with fires. It's a fact of life here, but we can deal with it in a better or worse way. And I think certainly this year's been as good as it can be in terms of response. Hopefully something can be done at the supply end with eucalyptus and so on. Let's not get into that right now, but amazing photos from Dave. That's what you see, isn't it? And you mentioned the smell earlier on. That's what people don't realize, isn't it? That aroma, that landscape is so chilling long after most people have forgotten about it because it's not on their radar anymore. There are people who have to drive past this and see what used to be their neighborhood, basically. And that smell, Ali.
Yeah, no, it's and you literally your whole everything is covered in that layer of chopped dust as well from the fires, and it spreads. Right, people were saying, sort of in the eastern Algarve, they could see the smoke and smell the smoke from where we are. I mean, that's a good 100 kilometers or more.
Truly awful. Yeah. And there another single tree there charred in the landscape. Grim. What's the cat question then this month? Bobby?
We always find someone who's got an interesting dog or cat or another creature to interview. So I love this little boy. He's called Bobby von Dazzler. That's a great name, isn't it, for a little fella? Yes. Little rescue dog. He's beautiful. Lives in Spain. That's another author friend of mine. I love the questions are always fun. What nicknames, if you could call yourself a name, what would you call yourself? What do zoomies feel like when you're running around? What treats do you love?
Fantastic!
I love they're great. They're great for like, what's the naughtiest thing you've ever done? Great for asking a dog that and seeing what the answers come back with.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. And artists and authors rightly cherished and showcased in each and every snapshot. Sally Jane Smith this month. What can you tell us about Sally?
Well, Sally's written a really interesting book called Unpacking for Greece. She actually found, after her mother had died, a diary that her mother had wrote when she travelled to Greece.
Oh, wow.
And she decided to follow back in her footsteps and see if she could find the same, history and landscapes that her mother had found. So, which is a lovely idea for a book, isn't it? To try and follow in their footsteps again.
It is. What a great idea.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. So she's got another book coming out. She went back again. And I always review books. I'm a big reader, as you probably guessed. So there's a really nice new book called The Mutt for Me, bless him, an American guy who adopted a rescue dog. Had lots of problems. So I was lucky enough to get an early edition of that to read. So I've reviewed that one. That's out this month. And a really fabulous memoir of somebody who fell in love in Paris. She was a young 19-year-old. Very openly fell in love with a teacher who was a married man. And it's beautifully written because it really, she walks through the streets of Paris and you can imagine yourself beside her and the food and the atmosphere and beautifully written, really nice memoir. Really
you want to know what happens, don't you? You want to know how that ends up. Don't tell us. Going back briefly to The Mutt for Me, this is a genre in publishing now, isn't it? Sort of dog and cat based books. Is there a special name for it? Is it like sort of furry lit or something like that?
No, I wish there was, because people keep asking me, because obviously Cat the Dog's book. I'm really proud of myself. I actually had an all-stars bonus from Amazon last month, which meant
well done.
So well that they literally gave me a bonus, which was quite a surprise, because normally it's the real bestsellers, I always think, that get that bonus. It's a real echelon to get.
Superb.
Good morning.
Get yourself a mic there, Mrs. M, and people better hear
so,
you.
Yeah, the whole memoir, mine was very much Kat's voice writes the book all the way through. And I think a lot of people, I actually had someone review it on Amazon say that they thought I was a dog in a previous life. And I took it as a real compliment.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I inside that dog's brain so well that I could actually write a story that they forgot the dog was telling the story.
Yes.
Sorry, guys. I'm going to have to run. I have another call at 10, so I need to rush off to something.
All right, fair enough. It's great to see
you
you
again, and Carl. We'll see you shortly.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Cheers, Ian. Take care, mate. And we've got to go as well. Mrs. M is breathing down my neck, which I love. But she was starting a show at 10. Right. Dave Grohl is mentioned there. Is that by him?
Yes.
Okay.
I never like reading biographies of somebody famous. I always like to have their own. He's got a fantastic voice all the way through the book. I wasn't sure. Somebody recommended it.
Yeah.
Not a huge fan of the music particularly. Obviously, grew up with them around me. But his story is fascinating. He writes really well.
Yeah, I bet it is. Yeah. And finally, look at this beautiful picture again. I'm guessing from the Scottish Medieval Festival. Is that a dromedary or a camel?
Camel, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
Look at him.
He's been shy.
He's got the hump. Right. Okay. We'll do the Portugal quiz question with you if we may. But where do people find their own copy of Snapshot? It'll be at alysonsheldrake.com/news. That's the best place to go, isn't it, Ali?
Yeah, and it's completely free. You can always read this edition online free on that link, or you can subscribe if you want to. You're very welcome.
Terrific. All right, bear with me if you will. Thank you so much, Ali, and I'm so grateful to you for sharing with me my special Gumper edition of the publication.
Yeah, you wouldn't want the whole 126 pages to skim through in half an hour, would you?
That could take us a little bit longer than we've got, so we'll finish today. T Duck is off today, so we don't have any dad jokes. You've been spared dad jokes, but you haven't been spared a Portugal quiz question of the day, which we'll finish with right now. It was Joanna Schenker yesterday. And today we have the Portugal quiz question for Thursday, 7th of September. As tourist numbers diminish, as we've been saying here this morning, kids return to school and their parents return to work. We sense the end of summer here in Portugal. Some of us, however, have not given up on the idea of sunny days, warm weather, and even a dip in the sea. Should there be a late burst of summer madness, how are the Portuguese likely to refer to it? Is it the Verão de São Martinho, because he's the patron saint of winemaking and a bit of late revelry? Is it the Verão de Santo Antonio, because he's the patron of lost things, including summer? Or is it the Verão de São João, associated with midsummer? Go to Learn About Portugal to make your guess. Thank you so much, Ali. Thank you so much, Fabrizio and Ian. We'll give you a nice big round of applause because we have to make way now for the Barefoot broadcast. Take care. Have a great day. And beijinhos. Ciao, ciao. Oh, where's my theme tune? There it is.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.